What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I've got great news. I'm a finalist for a Shorty Award. Go vote for your boy and make sure I bring this award home. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for making Club Shay a success.
First Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
First things first, Jameis is ready to compete for the starting job. Can he carry the torch, though, from Drew Brees? Nick unveiled his new NBA MVP ladder. It caused lots of controversy in our morning meeting. We're going to let you decide if it should, coming up. And Draymond thinks he's the best defender to ever play the game. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna, Nick, Brandon, Kevin Wilds. Nick, Draymond have a case for best ever?
No, he obviously doesn't, but it's not as outrageous as one might think. Not nearly as outrageous as Brandon Marshall mocking my pre-show parenting, telling my 7-year-old to go dominate the day. Go dominate.
7. He wants to have a good day. We'll get to all that. We got to start in Green Bay. Packers, we learned this week, trying to restructure Aaron Rodgers' contract, free up some cap space. Aaron knows this, which is why before they do it, he reportedly wants some assurances that he's not going to be a lame duck quarterback. You know, just keeping the seat warm for Jordan Love. Hey, Brandon, what do you make of Aaron wanting those assurances?
Yeah. Ooh. Jenna, this report left me more curious than anything. I mean, this dude is 37, and he turns 38 in December, and he's showing no signs of slowing down. This dude is coming off an MVP year. Why are we having this conversation right now? And I don't know if it's from Aaron's side or from the organization side. We know Aaron, there always seems to be some type of discontent there with Aaron. There's always wanting more, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's always something. I mean, it's the Green Bay Packers. It's a legendary organization. This is Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest NFL players ever. Why can't you guys get this right? If you're Aaron Rodgers, you could have got this deal done a month ago if you really wanted it. You had all the leverage then. You had the organization scrambling. And then on the organization side, you made no moves in free agency. You continue to botch, the drafts. And then you got Aaron Rodgers, who's coming off an MVP year, and we're having this discussion around being a lame duck. I just don't get it, Nick. It left me more curious than anything. I don't understand. I know his contract runs through 2023. There is an out in 2022, I believe. But, they shouldn't be having this conversation at this point of the year.
So I think I can help explain it to you, and this is where it is beneficial that I moonlight as an NFL GM consultant, because this is all about, sometimes it's frustrating to be a sports fan in 2021. You're like, I have to know about dead money and cap charges. But if you want to understand the Aaron Rodgers story, that's what this is about. After this coming season, Aaron Rodgers' salary cap hit is $40 million. But if they were to trade or cut him, the dead money is only $17 million. The season after that, the trade or cutting him dead money would only be $2 million. So what Aaron Rodgers wants is for it to be more painful for them to move on from him after this year, which also as an added benefit would free up money for them to spend this offseason. Oh, I don't know, maybe money they could use to pay Odell Beckham Jr. if they decided to trade for him. But the Wilds, the reason that Aaron Rodgers is worried about dead money and if they could move on from him, and the reason he would want to restructure his contract, not extend, not get a raise, just simply work in the details on how easy or difficult it would be to move on from me, is because of the original sin of Jordan Love. It's because you have this first-round quarterback that after his third season, they have to decide if they're going to pick up a fifth-year option on, and that clock is ticking. And Aaron Rodgers knows that. And that's why I think he doesn't want to be a lame duck quarterback, even though how would he be a lame duck with 2 years left on his contract after this one? It's because they could move on from him and not have it ruin their cap. I think he wants them to be tied together because unlike so many of these other quarterbacks, he's made it very clear. I would like to be a Packer for life. I don't know if they're going to give me that opportunity.
Okay, so isn't this also about, Nick, the Packers just being prudent and not going all in, which I think is the wrong move? I don't think there's one Packer fan, one Packer teammate, one Packer newborn baby when they put him in the little Packers onesie who would be upset if the Packers brass said, you know what? We've decided to go all in on the Aaron Rodgers era. We saw what Tom Brady and the Bucs did, and that's what we're going to do. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to restructure Aaron's contract so we can free up more money. We can be more aggressive in free agency, or I'm going to put a call into AB. We're going to be more aggressive in the trade market. We're going to put a call into OBJ. And we're going to be more aggressive in the draft. And everyone's like, well, how are you going to do the draft? You got the 29th pick, you got the 62 pick, you got the 92nd pick. That's not like great. We're so good. We always have a low pick. How about this, Nick? We're putting Jordan Love on the trade market. We made a mistake.
There you go.
He's a great guy.
That
he deserves a shot to play. And what if you called the Jets? You say, hey, Jets, you got that number 2 pick. You don't do whatever you want with it. Why don't you give us that 2nd round pick? Why don't the 34th overall pick? We'll take that pick. You guys can have Jordan Love. Maybe throw in a 5th round pick too, just for fun. And the Packers go all in. Why?
Don't send me Jordan Love.
First round pick, trade a 2nd pick.
Don't send me Jordan Love. No, don't send me Jordan Love. You saw the reports coming out last year. This dude is struggling in practice. No, please. I'll keep Sam Darnold.
Darnold's struggling in the game.
I think, Brandon, I'm not saying your opinion is wrong, but I don't think your opinion of don't send me Jordan Love is necessarily shared by, I don't know how the Jets feel, but the 31 other teams. When he was projected to be a late 1st round pick a year ago, he hasn't played since then. So I would imagine what Wilds suggested there is actually right about what it would take. Probably, a high 2nd rounder could probably get Jordan Love, and the Packers could move on from. Well, then. But that also speaks, Brandon, to if you would only give him a 3rd, then that means you wouldn't have taken him in the 1st round. I just don't think the Packers are the only team that would have taken him in the 1st round.
Hindsight.
But But I do think this all has to do with Jordan Love, which is why Wild's point is, I think, a smart one, because it removes it. This entire thing, I'm sure we've all known a couple that someone once upon a time cheated on the other person, and years later, they're still fighting about it. It's like, man, you never got over it. Like, you probably should have just cut bait because you never were able to move on from it. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is even close to moving on from the fact that the Packers finally got aggressive in a draft, traded up, and they did it to draft his replacement after going 13-3 and being in the conference championship game. I do not think Rodgers is over that, and I don't think, Brandon, the Packers have given him reason to get over it because they haven't now tried to make it up to him by either moving on from Love or being super aggressive in free agency. So I don't blame him for being concerned that the Packers are looking to the post-Aaron Rodgers era.
It's Aaron Rodgers' fault. Then if that's the case, then this all falls on Aaron Rodgers. We're now seeing players understand the power that they have. And we thought that was happening after the year. What happened? We saw Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers go on Pat McAfee's show, and he talked about, I don't know what's going to happen with me in Green Bay, but I do know there's a couple of us in the same boat. He talked about Big Boy, and that was Mercedes Lewis, how they needed him back at the tight end position. Aaron Jones, they wanted him back. And he basically used that as a platform to say, bring my guys back. Stop not helping me out in the offseason. And what happened after that? It was a damn storm. Everybody on TV was talking about, wow, is Aaron Rodgers moving on? And then quickly, the organization came out and said, no, that's our guy. So Aaron Rodgers, he probably gave up his leverage. You could have doubled down on that stance then and got everything you wanted.
But it doesn't feel like the Packers have ever been all in on Aaron Rodgers. It feels like every year there's some malcontent there between the two sides, and the guy's coming off another MVP season, so it remains to be seen. We got to take a turn, though, talk some college hoops. Only 16 teams left in the men's tournament. Download the Fox Super 6 app. Answer 6 questions about the round of 16 for your shot at a $1,000 guaranteed prize. All right, with that, we're going to step aside, have much more First Things First right after this.
The brand new Fox Sports app is a finalist for the 13th annual Shorty Awards. I love it. I do not download any apps. I simply do not. I'm an old man. I don't know how to use my phone. I don't like apps. I don't like clutter. But the Fox Sports app is so sleek. It has everything you would ever want. So I got it on my phone. You should have it too. You should also vote for us for the Shorty Awards. You can vote in the description below. Vote once a day. Vote for the Fox Sports app. We are a finalist. We need this. Do it, America.
Head to New Orleans now. We'll let that sink in for a second. Been a long time since there were quarterback questions coming into a season for the New Orleans Saints. Brees is out. Who is in? Yesterday, Jameis Winston met with reporters, talked about competing for the job with Taysom Hill. And he had to fight back tears when talking about how much it would mean to him to carry on the legacy that Drew Brees left. Take a listen to this.
It's a tremendous amount of responsibility following up behind a guy like Drew Brees, but I embrace that. You know, I know that is a challenging responsibility, but I really embrace that, and I would love to carry that torch. Being able to have an entire season with Drew Brees was a dream of mine. And for him to put his arm around me, or, you know, just give me any encouraging words after I saw the resilience, the passion, the way that he went and approached every single day. But that to even be a story, like I was touched by that, because he doesn't even know how much he means to me and my family, for real.
You know, over the last couple of months doing this show with you, Brandon, you've talked so much about the influence Drew Brees had on you just watching him prepare. You were only there for like a month. Imagine what it does mean to Jameis Winston to be in that quarterback room with him, you know, day in and day out. And you could see it with his answer there. What do you think Saints fans should expect the transition to look like from Brees to Jameis Winston?
Yeah, Jenna, those emotions are real. Those aren't phony. It's not fake. You know, Drew Brees, there's only a handful of people in this world that can leave a lasting impact on people just like that. I was there for a month, and now when I talk to these college kids or high school kids or young quarterbacks, the first person that I bring up is Drew Brees because of his process, because of his passion and that resilience that Jameis Winston talked about, you know, every single day. It's hard to be the same person every single day. And that's who Drew Brees is. We had Demario Davis on their show, and he talked about how he took his game to a whole nother level by just seeing how Drew Brees prepares. So that is real. Jameis Winston had a year to sit under Drew Brees, Sean Payton, and I think he definitely soaked up everything that he could. Now, with that being said, back to football. I said this Friday, and I said it earlier on in this week. I'm all in on Jameis Winston. This kid, I told you, 5,100 yards or whatever it was in 2019, 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. We cut those interceptions in half, Nick. It's lights out for the NFL. I'm telling you right now. And I have to believe that impact that Drew Brees made on him and showing him, you know, how to prepare and how to go through an offense. And you don't have to score a touchdown every single play. It's going to take this kid's game to a whole nother level. Now, this quarterback competition is real between him and Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill got real reps last year. Taysom Hill He's been playing this. He's been this gadget player for years. He goes out there last year and he plays and he starts at quarterback. He has some big wins. He has some big games. He has some big moments. He's going to be able to come into this offseason a better quarterback, Nick. Don't talk to me about slash player. Don't talk to me about gadget. He's coming in this offseason a better quarterback. It will be a real competition, but Jameis will emerge. And what you're going to see next year, Jenna, is this. What you're going to see is a better defense. This is a top 5 scoring defense and total defense. That defense usually turns it on second half of the season. They need to start the season hot. They need to start the season as a shutdown, and then they will be in a good position. And offensively, people don't want to hear it, but they're going to be more explosive with Jameis Winston. He just needs to eliminate the mistakes, and that team will be better.
Well, I do believe they'll be more explosive, but the thing with explosives is sometimes they blow up on you. And you end up all of a sudden your hands are gone. I do think there'll be a more explosive offense. Brandon, honest question, and then I'll give my full answer. Because you keep keying on this 5,100 yards. And it's a good stat. It's top 10 all time in a season. How many quarterbacks in the league, I don't need name, just a rough number, if they went into a season with the Bucs weapons of 2019 and this, listen, buddy, don't care how many picks you throw. Do not care how many times you turn the ball over. Chuck it as much as you want. If they had no regard whatsoever for ball security as job security, yours and mine, how many quarterbacks in the league could throw for 5,000 yards in those circumstances?
We know Fitzy could.
20 of them? Like how many of them?
I'll give you 8. I'll give you 8 guys. 8 guys can do it.
See, and my feeling is, it is a lot higher because one of the reasons Jameis had those amazing yardage numbers was because he was playing with such reckless abandon that everything seemed to be boom or bust. And listen, that commentary we just saw from him, Wilds, was touching. And I do root for him. But the last year that Jameis Winston played football, where turnovers weren't a major problem, was 2013. His final year at Florida State, he threw 18 interceptions. And up to this moment in his career, he has thrown 88 picks with 50 fumbles in 72 starts. The first pass he ever threw for Tampa was a pick 6 to start his career. And the last pass he ever threw for Tampa was a pick 6 to end his career there. That happened. And so Brandon is, to use a phrase close to Jenna's heart, he's yada-yadaing the most important part. The but with Jameis is the interceptions. I agree with Brandon. If he removed them, he could be a top-flight quarterback. But that's a huge but that I need to see some evidence of. With all that said, Wilds, of course he's better than Taysom. It's not even a question. But I think it's going to be a rocky transition from Brees to Winston.
Okay, I've got another question for Brandon. Since he's the king of ball security, job security, yours and mine. Brandon, let's suppose this scenario happens. Jameis is named the starter.
Right.
When does Brandon Marshall, ball security is of paramount importance, start to get nervous? Because he had a stretch starting in week 6 with the Bucs. He threw 5-2, then he took a week off, threw 0, 2-4-2. Ooh. How many interceptions is normal for the start of the season, let's say for the first 3 games, until you're going to be like, I don't know. Is it 3, 1 a game? Is it...
I'm giving you 4 games.
Set the over-under at 3. Go ahead.
I'm giving you 4 games. No, I'm giving you 4 games. You got 4 games to show and prove to me that you are the quarterback, that you are this guy that can replace Drew Brees. That's all you get. No, you can't come out in the first 4 games throwing 2 picks a game. No, I'll give you 1. I give you 1. After that, if you continue on that streak, then we have to have a conversation, and our boy Taysom Hill will be coming in. But here's the deal, Nick. When I got into the NFL, I couldn't catch the deep ball. I could run slant. I could run a hitch. I'll run you over. I'll stiff arm you. I'll do all of that other stuff. But catching a deep ball over my shoulder, it just wasn't my thing. Coach Dinger, offensive coordinator, legendary coach, came to me one day after practice, slapped me in the back of the head, said, "Brother, what's wrong? You can't catch a deep ball?" He took me into the training room and literally for 30 minutes just threw a ball over my shoulder. He said, "Start teaching me how to track a ball, how to track it." And then he did that every day for an entire month. And then I became really efficient, and I became really savvy going deep in the National Football League. That was year 2. So what I'm saying, I use that as an example to say this. Sometimes when you have a coach like Sean Payton, sometimes when you have a coach like Drew Brees that come to you, slap you in the back of the head and say, "Buddy, let me help you out here," it goes a long way. And that's what I believe is going to happen with Jameis Winston.
I think that's totally legitimate. The distinction I would say is for a quarterback throwing interceptions, it's not a receiver not being able to catch a certain route. It's a receiver dropping the ball all the time. Like it is your biggest responsibility is to take care of the football. That's the concern with Jameis. But Brandon's other point about if the Saints understand the strength of their team should be their defense and tell Jameis, we don't need 5,000 yards. We don't need 4,000 yards. Play the most conservative brand of football you've ever played and just take care of the football. I would be interested, Jenna, to see if he can do that because he is a talented player.
And we keep forgetting he got LASIK. He can see. It might make all the difference.
Great call.
Time for Knicks NBA medals now. Take a turn. Zion with 27 points last night in a win over a Laker team missing both AD and LeBron. But Zion just missed out on a medal. Nick, who made your podium today?
Well, real quick on Zion. Breaks Luka and LeBron's record for teenagers with consecutive games with 20 points at 21. So shout out to Zion, but not good enough to make the podium. You know who did make the podium? His teammate. Revenge game, Brandon Ingram. Says, "Oh, you didn't want me in LA. How about I drop 36, 3, and 4 on your heads over the D-League Lakers?" So Brandon Ingram makes the podium. Silver medalist, career high assist for James Harden. No Kyrie, no problem. By the way, happy birthday, Kyrie. We missed that yesterday as he is absent from the team. 25, 7, and 17 for James Harden, taking care of things against the Blazers. And then the gold medalist.
By himself.
Oh, the Joker. The Joker leading the medals, leading the points. Some would argue now leading the MVP race. More on that momentarily.
It's the
28,
magic.
15, and 10. Brandon, somebody's got to pull Brandon aside and explain that teams
What's the
don't get to
Magic's
pick
record?
who
Let
they
me
play.
Google this real
It's
quick.
just the schedule.
Let me Google
It's
this.
just
What
the
is it?
schedule, Brandon,
ESPN,
and it's not unbalanced. Everyone plays the same schedule, Brandon. Okay,
Where's the Magic at? Where's the Magic? I don't even think on the list. They're 14 and 29. They're 14 and 29.
Tell us who missed the cut.
Oh, we're leaving the NBA hardwood, going to some recreational place where a gentleman challenged Brian Scalabrine to a one-on-one game for his sneakers. Shocker. 11-0 Scalabrine. Here's the thing, folks. NBA players, newsflash, are very, very good at basketball. Think about it like this. You ever have a buddy that you were just friends with, and then they take like 4 boxing lessons, and all of a sudden they could destroy you at any point they wanted to? It's like that, times a kabillion. So congratulations to Scal. You know what? Congratulations to this guy, too, for having the audacity to challenge him.
You know who can use them? The Lakers can use them. The Lakers can use them. Lakers. Great point.
Ted Lasso, darts, don't challenge him. Nick's going to unveil his updated NBA MVP ladder on the other side of the break. I promise you will not want to miss this. Stick around. We're back in a few. This is First Things First.
A lot of offensive fouls by Scalabrine.
Hey, First Things First listeners. It's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we can all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
Beautiful day to be great. Beautiful day to be great.
You get one opportunity. And think about the responsibility helping these guys reach their goal.
Let's get it. Quick time to prime time.
Get a better player. Create a better man.
Quick. There it is. Boom! Oh my gosh. I love it when a plan comes together. When we get these opportunities, dog, take advantage of them. So shout out to everybody training to go get their dreams.
Oh my. I am so fired up right now. That was awesome. Brandon, this is your baby. What can football fans expect to see tonight in episode 1?
Yeah, Jenna, it is my baby. For 5 years now, I've been trying to put this show together, but I could never get the top guys to come train with me, and now we finally did, and it's awesome. You know, this is a welcome into what it's like to make it to the NFL. Almost like you're watching an NFL team in their offseason prepare for their season. This is what it is. These kids come in for 2 months. We put them in housing, we feed them, we do their medical, we do all their support stuff, getting them ready to sit down with owners and general managers and head coaches. We had Hugh Jackson, Ryan Clark, Kevin Burnett, Mike Vick, Ray Lewis, all these guys come in and pour into these guys' lives. Like for years, we've been seeing these shows where it's, oh, let's go on the field and let's see how these guys throw. There you go, Kellen Mond, the steal of the draft this year. You got right there, Jalen Twyman, big dude, 40 times on the bench. But here's the deal. What about all the stuff off the field, like the pitfalls? What about the financial burden?
Yeah.
What about all the drama that we run into as athletes? That's the thing that I wanted to uncover, so you'll get an inside scoop into that, of the stuff that happens off the field as you're leading up to the draft. And once you make it, what does it look like for the next 10, 15 years? So super excited about this, following these 22 guys. It's amazing. Mo Wells did a phenomenal job. Can't wait to watch it tonight.
Can't wait to watch. It's at 5:30 Eastern right here, right after Lock It In, or Fox Bet Live. It should be great. It's part 1 of 6. Can't wait to watch it. It's going to be awesome, Brandon.
Brandon, remember,
Brandon,
I'm still available to help out.
He's still offering up his services. All right, time for Nick to break out his updated MVP ladder. Nick, a lot's happened since we last saw it. LeBron's out with that high ankle sprain and Embiid out with a knee injury. So take us through your updated list.
All right, one caveat again. These are not projected finishes. This is if the season throws today, where we are with the MVP ladder. 9 names on the list, expanded from 8 last time. Start at the bottom. Number 9, Kawhi Leonard. Good stats, good team, but let's be honest, it's been disappointing, and he knows it, which is why he was sounding the alarm last week. Number 8, surging, Luka Doncic. Since February 1, 43% from 3, averaging 39-9 since February 1 for a Mavs team that all of a sudden looks like it's itself. James Harden moving up the list as well, tied a career high with assists last night. James Harden leading the NBA in assists. He has been spectacular for the Brooklyn Nets. What hurts him, of course, is he's played for 2 teams this year, and one of those 2 teams he napalmed on the way out. All right, number 6, next group of guys. Number 6 on the MVP ladder, Giannis. Giannis's numbers are almost identical to last year, but the defensive numbers aren't as good, the team's record isn't as good, and it's going to be very hard to win 3 straight MVPs. For those reasons, he's 6th. Chris Paul, last night's a great example of Chris Paul. He had 8 points and 9 assists last night, but was a plus 17. His team is excellent, but his counting stats are so pedestrian compared to everyone else, he could fall out of the top 5, but I really do think his value is unquestionably top 5. Joel Embiid. At this point, the games missed has really started to hurt him. He's played 31. The next fewest on this list is 36. Most of the guys have played close to 40 or more than 40. So Embiid, the reason he's not 1 or 2 is purely because of games missed. Now your top 3. Dame, Jokic, and LeBron. Dame, CJ McCollum's missed 25 games. And Damian Lillard has the Blazers position potentially move into the top 4 in the West. He's averaging 31 and 8 on the year. The Joker, there's a reason he's the Vegas favorite. He once again had another triple-double last night. His numbers this year are out of this world. And with LeBron now going to miss extended time, you know he's going to fall down the list. Why is LeBron still number one? Because LeBron's actually played as many games or more games than everyone on this list except for the Joker and Dame. And because when LeBron got hurt, they were the second best team in the league record-wise. He was clearly the best player. So the reason there's an asterisk is LeBron's going to fall precipitously down this if we do it in 2 weeks, and he's missed a handful more games. But up to this point, he's only missed 3 games on the season. So there's your MVP ladder. I have a feeling, maybe I'm wrong, I have a feeling what Brandon Marshall's going to take issue with. But there it is as we sit here today at the tail end of March.
All right, Nick, right. So what you said is if the NBA season ended today, this is where it would fall, right? Just want to be clear that we're speaking the same language here. Okay. Well, if that's the case, if you're going to have Kawhi on there, you're going to have CP3 on there, then we need to have Kyrie Irving there. That's first. Wow. Second, you talk about Embiid. You talk like if the season ended today, Joel Embiid will be the clear-cut MVP. Okay? He's doing something the game hasn't seen. We're talking about how he's shooting from the field, 50%. A little over 50% from the three-point line, over 40% from the free throw line. What is it, 80%? It's ridiculous, and it's how he's doing it. This is Akeem Olajuwon. This is KD. This is Shaquille O'Neal, all wrapped up in one. Yes, I said it, and you tried to call me out all week talking about, oh, remember Brandon was saying this, that this dude is the best player on the planet right now. Absolutely, and I'll stand on that table. Joel Embiid, if the season ended today, he'll be the MVP. But the season isn't ending right now, Nick. And you know exactly who I want to talk about. You just said I got a feeling who Brandon wants to talk about. Who do I want to talk about? It's just clear. It's disrespect. You got James Harden at 7. Are you kidding me? Why is James Harden at 7, Nick? This dude has come in his short career with the Brooklyn Nets. 38 games, that's all. Amazing article on Sporting News. And he's done nothing but break records, franchise records, and do things that we've never really seen before from a point guard. This dude is averaging, the last 18 games, they won 16. He's averaging a 25-point triple-double. This is ridiculous, Nick. Jokic is balling right now. He's in the discussion. Right now, it's they're neck to neck. LeBron James, he's right there, but he's hurt, unfortunately. So he's out of there. He's in the same boat as Joel Embiid. It's coming down to Jokic and this guy right here. But for you to have him at the 7th, that's disrespectful. Well, you know better than that, Nick.
So here's the thing. It's not disrespectful because you mentioned he's played 38 games. He's played 38 games this season, but 8 of those were with the Houston Rockets. So he's played 30 for the Brooklyn Nets. And you said Embiid would still be number 1 and Kyrie should be on the list. Those guys have not played enough. You've got to play more than 75% of the season. Harden, we are just going, you have to. Like that, you can't be a part. Kyrie is gone again after taking a sabbatical in January, which is when Harden really, by the way, that's Kyrie's sabbatical could have been good for the Nets because it allowed Harden to, it maybe facilitated the Harden trade. Yep. It's maybe why they felt the need to go all in for him.
Properly.
Maybe they'll be happy about it.
No stress dealing with, yes, I agree with you there.
Absolutely. And so, but I don't even have Kyrie's games played off the top of my head because I didn't think it was possible anyone bring him up for MVP. He's been fantastic when he's played.
He's averaging
but he's played
25 points.
Brandon, there's 15 guys averaging 25 points.
And this whole thing,
most of them play regularly.
Okay, well, let's go back to James Harden. What the only thing you're holding on to is those 8 games, those couple games he played in Houston. Like this dude was still balling out in Houston. He wasn't the James Harden of last year, but he still was doing. That wasn't his fault. That was the team's fault. They lose their coach. They lose their general manager, and that's why he wanted out. So James Harden, for me, Wilds, is the thing that we need to circle, and we need to have a debate. We need to continue this discussion on live TV. We need to continue this discussion in between breaks because this is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, Brandon, I will make a case for someone near and dear to your heart. You mentioned it sort of like in passing, but then like a mighty phoenix rising from the ashes, the mighty Phoenix Suns rise from the ashes. Chris Paul needs to move up so he finishes top 3 in MVP for the following reasons. 1, these guys are only 2 games out of the number 1 seed. And the poor Jazz are struggling 500 in their last 10 games. And look at their upcoming schedule, Nick. Orlando, Toronto, Charlotte, Atlanta, Chicago, OKC, Houston, and then the Jazz again. Hey, good news, Jazz. You will be in second place by the time you play the Suns. The Suns will be in first place. Reason number 2, historical precedent. And I know every MVP has scored at least 23 points. Except Steve Nash, Suns point guard. There's some historical precedents for it. And Nick, reason number 3, and this is less of a point, more of a question. The ultimate conundrum. Here's the conundrum. Chris Paul's counting stats, which you mentioned. He's 60th in points. He's 97th in rebounds. Give him a break. 5'11". He's 5th in assists, and his PR is 37. So here's the conundrum, Nick. What if playing winning basketball and making the lowly Phoenix Suns the number 1 team in the West, the way to make that happen is by not packing the stat sheet?
Correct.
And how are voters supposed to deal with that?
That's right. It's the original Isaiah Thomas problem. Go look at Isaiah Thomas's counting stats. People will think he's not one of the 40 greatest players ever. In reality, he's one of the 20 greatest players ever. He won at Indiana, he won in Detroit, and he did it without any other superstars because he was the ultimate point guard. Chris Paul is the modern version of that. But that's also a reason why Isaiah Thomas never came close to winning a league MVP. Because at the end of the year, there are going to be other guys that also contribute to winning who double him up in some of these counting stats. Listen, I think he's top 5. I thought he was third last year, and people gave me hell for it when he was with OKC. I think he adds as much to your team winning as any player in the league other than LeBron still to this day. But I think the counting stats are going to hurt him so much that it's going to be hard for him to really get in this conversation, Jenna.
That makes sense.
But I agree with almost everything you just said, Wilds.
Well, listen, Wilds, Nick, I would love to join this conversation about the Suns. But, Nick, you and Chris told me, a week or 2 ago that you told me to stop talking about the Suns. That's what I was told on this show.
No, as a championship contender. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
All right. I would love to join the conversation, Jenna, but Nick told me we can't talk about the Suns on this show. Sorry.
No, we can't talk about the Jazz on this show. We can't talk about the Jazz. We can talk a little bit about the Suns. We can't talk about the Jazz on this show. No Jazz on this list either, Jenna.
All right, we're going to have Antoine Walker in a little bit later have his input on Nick's ladder here. We got to shift back to football now. Aaron Rodgers wants the Packers to tell him he's not just a lame duck quarterback. Is it on the board? This will be the MVP's last year in Green Bay. Greg Jennings joined the conversation next. First things first. Back here with NBA champ Antoine Walker. Twan, we're talking Lakers this morning. They lost to the Pelicans last night. That is 3 straight losses for them. Life not so easy breezy without LeBron and AD out there, is it? So, Antoine, how far do you think the Lakers fall in the standings with their 2 superstars sidelined?
Well, unfortunately, they're gonna probably fall pretty far. They're gonna probably fall into that 7th and 8th seed. They don't have the same type of depth that they had last year. You don't have a Rajon Rondo, a guy who can create plays. And if you look at these 3 games that they've missed, they haven't had a guy really that can create plays and get shots for other guys. So they really struggle offensively. The schedule's not in their favor because now you get teams like Cleveland. They got Cleveland coming up, Sacramento, Orlando. Those 3 teams are in the mix of their 6 games. Those teams now are looking at the Lakers as now, we can beat them now. They're looking at them. So now you got these bad teams that are out there now believing that they can get a win now playing against you. So now these games become much harder. The Lakers are probably looking at an 8 to 9 game losing streak. And I don't know if they can stand with how long they can withstand without LeBron James or AD playing. They're going to probably force LeBron and AD to speed up their rehab process to get back on the court because they can really fall in. They're only 4.5 games out of the 8th spot. This thing can get really ugly fast. I don't like what they make of their team. too many guys on the Lakers are not playing well and not playing good basketball. So this could turn into a real disaster.
So I do think they're going to, when LeBron plays again, they'll be the 7 seed. I also think the 7 seed is not going to be a problem because once LeBron comes back, I think they'll be able to move up to the 6 line. And even if they stay in the 7 line, they'd have to lose consecutive elimination games in order to not make the playoffs. And there's 0% chance of that happening with LeBron and AD back. But where I disagree with Antoine, or where I shouldn't even say I disagree, where I will be more concerned about how far they will fall is if Antoine's right about them losing to Cleveland, Orlando, and the Kings. The way I look at it, over the next month of basketball, there's 7 games the Lakers should have circled. Those 3 Antoine mentioned, and then in the next group, they have Toronto, which is a disaster right now, the Knicks, Charlotte, and Boston. Those 7 games, the 3 Antoine mentioned and the 4 I just mentioned, they've got to go at least 4-3, because against any good team, until one of their 2 stars is back, they can't win. They're not going to steal a win against Philly or Milwaukee or the Clippers, or they play back-to-back against the Mavs and back-to-back against the Jazz. They're not going to beat those teams. So I look at those 7 games and say, you got to go at least 4-3 against the bad teams. Hopefully for the Lakers, if you're a Lakers fan, 5-2. And then you're going to be right around the 6-7 line a month from now when LeBron's probably back. If Antoine's right, Brandon, and they lose to Cleveland, Orlando, and the Kings, then they absolutely could be in the 9 spot when LeBron comes back. Because if you lose to those teams, you can't really beat anybody. And I do think a lot of this is predicated, Brandon, on when Anthony Davis comes back, because I think we're going to see Anthony Davis before we see LeBron.
Yeah, that's it right there. There's two conversations here. We got to hit on both ends of the spectrum. All right. So right now in the short term, we could come back to work Monday morning talking about basketball and the Lakers be the 6th seed. They're falling, and they're falling fast. All right. We're talking about right now they're the 4th seed. And then we talk about the long term, 2018, let's go back there. They were sitting at the 4th seed, and what ended up happening? LeBron James, what did he snap his groin or something? And then they fell out of the playoffs. Never to be seen again that year. All right? So we're looking at a team that is falling fast, and now we got to look at what's going to happen at the end of the season. Because right now, while you have San Antonio at the 7th seed, you have Dallas, Nick's large stepson, whatever he calls him, Luka, they're balling now. He's finally in shape. He's playing well. You're throwing him in the MVP discussion. So now you got him there, and then you got the Golden State Warriors at 9. So we're looking at them potentially when LeBron and AD come back, they could be the 9th or 10th seed and be out of the playoff mix.
Antoine, you didn't curse on air, but you may well have, because you said something that I think we should beep out if you say it again. You said that the LeBron and AD and the Lakers should speed up their recovery. I think that is the worst idea imaginable. We know that LeBron, this is the 2nd major injury. We don't know the severity of it, but we know the guy doesn't get injured. So if he is injured, it must be pretty bad. And AD, when the word Achilles keeps getting mentioned over and over and over again, the idea that he would look at Kyle Kuzma and be like, I guess you guys really need me out there. I'm going to put my potentially career on the line here so we can avoid the play-in game, I think would be a disaster. How much pressure do you think there will be on LeBron and AD to speed up the recovery, which for the record I think is a horrible idea?
Well, what happens is that the Lakers' goals are much different than most other teams. Their goal is to win a championship. LeBron James is obviously Father Time, can catch up with everybody. I think sometimes we take that for granted. But he's trying to win now. We know he signed an extension, but, LeBron wants to get in the playoffs win. And I'm not worried about the Lakers as far as seeding, obviously, because the fans don't play a big part. So I'm concerned that they could fall 8, 7, 8, 9. And that's a tough haul to get back going, because AD's got to get in some type of basketball shape. We know LeBron will come back ready. And that kind of forces, if you see your team as a competitor, as a player, and Brandon knows this as well, if you see your team struggling and not playing well, you want to rush your comeback. You want to get back out there.
Of course.
Who's going to keep that guy from saying, who's going to tell LeBron James, no, wait, we need you to wait another week. Let it heal a little bit longer. The competitor in him is going to want to come play. These guys are attending the games. They're on the road. They're in the locker room with those guys, and they want to be out there. Their goals is much different than a lot of other teams. Their goal is to win an NBA title. So you start to lose 7, 8, 9 games. Trust me, LeBron James and AD are going to press the envelope to get back on the floor.
That's a good point. All right, let's move on and talk some Draymond Green now. He made some waves yesterday on the Dubs Talk podcast. When he declared this, he said, quote, "I'm the best defender to ever play in the NBA. I'll put myself up against anyone." Twan, our resident truth teller, what'd you make of Dre's comments?
I think it's nice that he thinks very highly of himself, but he's not the best defender to ever play the game. I've played with a couple of great defenders that are much better than him, that are lockdown defenders. When I think of the Gary Paytons, the Alonzo Mournings, then Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, some of the best two-way players in the game. Then you got some guys that don't get a lot of recognition, but they're known for defense. Bruce Bowen, Tony Allen. These guys are really defenders. Draymond Green's a great off-the-ball defender. He'll put his body in front of somebody, but he's never been known as a lockdown defender. Case in point, NBA Finals, when Golden State was on their run, that dynasty run, Andre Iguodala was guarding the best wing, not Draymond Green. He didn't guard LeBron James in the finals. He didn't take on that responsibility. When you're the best defender in the world, you guard a LeBron James. You don't let Andre Iguodala guard him. So that's obviously Golden State felt like Andre Iguodala was a better defender than Draymond Green. But I like the fact that he thinks highly of himself. You're supposed to. I think he's a very good defender, a good off-the-ball defender. When you talk about the best defender to ever play the game, it's probably 15 to 20 guys that the names that goes on that list as well.
Hey, what do we know about Draymond? What do we know? Come on, sometimes he crosses the line. His emotions get the best out of him at times. But we know he's super smart and super savvy. So let's take a look at it, because it is a discussion. Let's look at the 4 greatest defenders of all time that the NBA has ever seen. We're talking about Kobe, rest in peace, the Mamba, the big ticket, and then we got the glove. And then, who do you have right there? You have the GOAT, Nick, 9-time first-team all-defense selections. So where does Draymond match up to them? Well, he has 3. So you're probably right, Twan. You're probably right. But that's not what this is about. What this is about is Draymond being savvy, Draymond being smart, and Draymond controlling his narrative, just like LeBron does. You don't want to vote me as MVP. You don't want to vote me as all defensive team and a defensive player of the year. What does he do? He changes the narrative. The last time Draymond Green won defensive player, was a first team all defense, was 16-17 season. So that's all he's doing, is getting us talking about it. So now all the voters can say, you know what, let's pay attention to him. Maybe he's due for another one. So this is Draymond Green being savvy and being smart and making us talk about it so all the voters can pay attention.
Okay, and by the way, Draymond's been snubbed. Draymond should have, forget first team all defense, Draymond should have 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. The 2 years he finished second to Kawhi, he should have won those awards. And I understand Antoine's point that he's not a lockdown, what he's saying, one-on-one defender, but he was the linchpin reason the Warriors were the best defense in basketball year over year. But he's still wrong. So here's the deal. With respect to first team all defense selections, don't really care about it. The 3 greatest defensive players in NBA history, and this is an inarguable list. If anyone, I just want to make it clear, I'm about to give you 3 names. If anyone disagrees with it, they're wrong. This is not opinion.
I gave you the top 4.
No.
I gave you the top 4.
Brandon,
okay,
with respect, none of those 4 made it.
Respect.
The 3 greatest defensive players ever are Bill Russell, Akeem Olajuwon, and Tim Duncan. Those are the 3 greatest defensive players ever. Now,
I thought
if
you were going somewhere else. I
wanted
can
to
respect
say,
that.
if Draymond wanted to say 6'8" and under category, over the last 40 years, Sidney Moncrief, Gary Payton, Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, Kawhi Leonard, Draymond Green. That's not 1 through 6. That's chronological order. He is on that list, Wilds, of guys that aren't sinners, because sinners just can impact the game so much differently. So of the 6, 8, and under category, he's in the room, but I would still take Dennis Rodman over the entire room in that category. So I don't think this is wild by Draymond. It just needed a few more qualifiers.
Sure, but if we make it these 6, 9, and under, can we include Ben Wallace? Because Ben Wallace is more like Draymond Green than, Hakeem Olajuwon. So I would add Ben Wallace if we make it 6, 9. And it's a great thing, but Ben Wallace should be in the Hall of Fame, won 4 Defensive Player years. But still, good for Draymond controlling his narrative.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, let us set hoops aside for a second. Get back to some football. Talking about what's going on down in New Orleans. Is Jameis capable of carrying that torch from Drew Brees? We'll have that next. First things first. On Sunday, the NASCAR Cup Series heads to Bristol for the first dirt track race in 50 years. It all starts Sunday, 3:30 Eastern on Fox and anywhere on the Fox Sports app. All right, we head to Green Bay now. So we learned this week they're trying to restructure Aaron Rodgers' contract, free up some cap space. Aaron knows this. We know this. Aaron knows this, which is why before they do it, he reportedly wants assurances that he's not going to be a lame duck quarterback. Just keeping the seat warm for Jordan Love. Nick, are the Packers playing with fire here if they don't restructure Aaron Rodgers' contract?
100%. Because the restructuring Aaron Rodgers' contract is what I would consider a half measure. This is ultimately actually about Jordan Love. And I think the best way I can illustrate that is quick story time to end the show. Little less than a decade ago, Brandon, you'll like this, and you don't know the story. A little less than a decade ago, I was on a crazy hot streak playing poker. And I'd won a bunch of money, and my whole life, I was like, you know what? One day, I want a Benz coupe. Don't care if it's used, don't care. I just want to say, I was doing local radio in Kansas City. I was like, I want to drive a Mercedes-Benz coupe. I won this bunch of money playing poker, and I'm like, you know what? I can go get that. And I went and found it on Craigslist, whatever, bought it, drove it home. The moment my wife, my then fiance, walked out in the house into the parking lot and saw it, you know what she said? Oh, that's a great family car. We had 2 kids at the time. Do you know how long that Benz coupe was a problem? Every single day I owned it until I sold it. Because every time the 4 of us tried to get in the car and you had to open a door and raise a seat and scrunch in the back, my 13-year-old son with his knees up against it, I heard a little bit about it, or a grumble, or a look. Like, why did you buy this stupid car? And I hate to compare a person to an object, but you guys understand, that's what Jordan Love is for Aaron Rodgers. Every day he's there, it's going to be a problem. Because he feels like you should have never drafted him. You should never have put me in this position where I'm looking over my shoulder. And the only they can restructure it so Aaron feels more security, but the only way to really fix this is to either give him a brand new long-term extension, which with 3 years left on his deal is not going to happen, or to move on from the player you never should have drafted in the first place, or else it's going to always be a problem. And I think that, Brandon, more so than lack of movements in free agency or not, I think it is the fact that the Packers were ready to move on well before Rodgers thought they should have been. And I think he has a daily reminder of that in a teammate.
Yeah, but Green Bay, they've been playing with fire. We know who they are. We know who they are in the draft. They're okay. We know who they are in free agency. They don't exist. They don't participate. So it's not even a conversation anymore about the Green Bay Packers. It's about that man right there, number 12, Aaron Rodgers. He's playing with fire. For the first time ever, now all these football players are saying, I know how powerful my platform is. I know how powerful my voice is. We thought he was using it. Right after the season, he goes on the Pat McAfee show, and he says, you know what? This is what I need. We're uncertain. There's a lot of us that's uncertain, but he pretty much said, if we don't get these things, I could be in a different uniform. And then all of us went on TV the next day and we start talking about, could this be the end of the Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay? And then all of a sudden, boom, oh, we love this guy. He's here to stay. He's our quarterback. Aaron Rodgers comes out, says, I'm not going anywhere. You gave up your leverage. How long are you going to believe in this organization? When are you going to use your power and say, I want an OBJ on the other side? I want to be able to have a voice when it comes to what we're doing in the draft. Like, what are you guys doing? This organization has been really good the past, 15 years? 20 years. Why? Because they've always had a quarterback. What happens when you don't have a quarterback? You're not good. Look what happened in New England. Tom Brady, 20 years. They're great. They win 6 championships. You take them out, and now they're at the bottom of the barrel. So Aaron Rodgers needs to understand that, and I would say he's playing with fire because he had the opportunity to use his leverage. Now, I don't know what's going to happen next, Jenna, but what needs to happen with Aaron Rodgers is he needs to see that I'm turning 38 in December, and we got to figure this out right now.
All right.
And Wilds, I'll throw it to you. This is not. Oh, go ahead, Wilds. Go ahead.
No. So my question is this: would any person on God's green earth who roots for the Packers, would they be upset if the Packers brass came out and said, you know what? We saw how the Bucs operated with an aging Tom Brady. We've decided to change paths. We've decided to pivot. That's the technical term. We're pivoting and going all in on Aaron Rodgers. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to extend his contract to move some cap hits so we can free up more money in free agency. We're going to be extra aggressive in free agency. We've already put calls into Antonio Brown. You know what else we're going to do? We're going to try to trade for OBJ. And then when the draft comes, we're going to try to get more assets. How are you going to do that? Packers are so good. They've got the 29th pick. They got the 62 pick. They got the 92nd pick. Call up the Jets and say, hey, Jets, I know you're in the market for a quarterback. Do you really like Zach Wilson? You want to spend the number 2 pick on Zach Wilson? How about a guy named Jordan Love, who, by the way, deserves a chance to start somewhere? All the other quarterbacks who were drafted got a chance to take some snaps, except Jordan Love. We feel a little bit responsible for drafting him, and we'd like some more draft capital. So, hey, Jets, why don't you send us the 34th overall pick and throw in maybe a 5th rounder that you got from the Giants, and then you can have Jordan Love. We win as the Packers because we have more draft capital. You win because you get a 1st-round pick for what is essentially a 2nd-round pick. And Jordan Love wins because the guy gets a chance. Well, Nick, who says no, and what Packers fan would be upset if that was the plan?
Well, I don't think that specific trade happens because I think the Jets are drafting a quarterback number 2. But there's a bunch of teams, Atlanta, Denver, a lot of teams that you could call up and offer a same thing. Jordan Love for your 2nd-round pick, and I think they would listen. But Brandon, and I think this deserves more discussion over the course of the offseason, you mentioned we've seen these quarterbacks finally recognizing their leverage. The thing is, they've been more vocal about it. I don't know how successful they've been. Rodgers said we could lose Mercedes Lewis, Aaron Jones, Corey Linsley. Well, Mercedes was very easy to keep. Aaron Jones, I think they gave a favorable contract to, and Linsley left. Russell has been vocal. The Seahawks have done nothing to support him. Tom Brady wanted leverage in New England. They wouldn't give it to him. Like, aside from Tampa, with Tom, I don't see teams ceding the power to their star players yet.
Nick, I don't have time to respond to you, but I do have time to respond to Wilds. Hey, Jets, you are loved. You are confident. You are a champion. You never have to settle for Jordan Love, Jets. Okay?
He's good.
You are a champion. Go get your quarterback. There's Russell Wilson. Hell, Aaron Rodgers. Jenna, we'll take Aaron Rodgers if they don't want him. You don't have to settle.
Have a great day, everyone.